Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri to brief MP delegations in 2 phases before diplomatic outreach on Operation Sindoor. 59 leaders to visit 33 countries in the coming days. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar begins Europe tour with Netherlands. Appreciates country's support against terrorism. Expediting first tranche of bilateral trade pact, Union Minister Piyush Goyal meets US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, advances India-US trade talks. Russia-Ukraine likely to seal peace deal after US President Donald Trump speaks to his counterparts Putin and Zelensky. Trump says Russia and Ukraine to immediately start the peace talks. Former US President Joe Biden cancer diagnosis snowballs into a political issue. Trump fuels speculation that cancer diagnosis was covered up, says that he is surprised the public was not informed about it. India braces for further rain fury as Met Department issues alert for extremely heavy rainfall in south and northeastern India. Karnataka continues to be on alert for extremely heavy rainfall. Our top story, India's Foreign Secretary will brief 7 MP delegations on Tuesday that are set to visit 33 countries to brief global leaders on India's resolve to deal with terrorism firmly against the backdrop of Operation Sindoor. The briefings are scheduled in 2 phases, with the first one occurring today and the second is scheduled for 23rd May. India has initiated a diplomatic effort to strengthen its global position following the Pahalgam terror attack that killed 26 civilians. This campaign aims to counter Pakistan's attempts to overshadow terrorism while prioritizing Kashmir in international discussions. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on External Affairs had a comprehensive meeting on Monday with Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, briefing members on current foreign policy developments regarding India and Pakistan in the wake of Operation Sindoor on May 7 and subsequent understanding reached between the 2 countries to stop military action and firing. Congress leader Shashi Tharoor, who heads the Standing Committee on External Affairs, said the members expressed desire to have a resolution expressing solidarity with the Foreign Secretary in the face of the unwarranted attacks or comments.
This was a very, very thorough discussion. Many of the MPs had thoughtful questions to ask. There was even a desire to have a resolution expressing solidarity with the Foreign Secretary in the face of the unwarranted attacks upon him. He himself requested there should be no resolution, but it was a unanimous sentiment of the committee that he has performed a good service for the nation and we all stand with him. And that was not a formal resolution, but it was definitely the wish of everyone. I also want to add that the committee has in many ways covered a lot of constructive ground and has left with satisfactory responses to various questions.
All right, DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us live to talk more on this. Akshay, how significant is this diplomatic outreach mission? The goal is to put across India's resolve to tackle terrorism against the backdrop of Operation Sindoor?
Well, it's quite essential, Abhishek, as essential as envoys that used to be there in older times when country used to be at a war or has used to have any kind of conflict or any kind of problem, then envoys used to be sent to other allied countries, other friendly nations, when in fact other major economies that had lack of clarity as far as what has happened, and that is where these envoys come in. It is comprised of all the political parties, so there is not a single party that is in fact can be blamed for sort of pushing any kind of agenda. These are all political parties coming from all different parts of the country, from all different faiths, all different communities. So it is going to be a huge message, and the kind of uneasiness that we saw in Pakistan over the announcement of these groups was very clear when Pakistan, also in a copycat move, announced its own push for a similar kind of diplomatic outreach program to abroad. Now, the world seems to be slightly confused when it comes to Operation Sindoor, when it comes to operations that have been carried out by the Indian Armed Forces. Because while the world has taken notice of the conflict between the two countries, but still there is a lack of understanding that why this happened and why and what are the problems that India is facing, especially the lack of understanding, that lack of general understanding that is there in the West when it comes to the global South countries, especially when it comes to South Asia. They don't understand the problem that persists as far as terrorism is concerned, and while the Western countries also do realize that Pakistan has become a hotbed for terrorists, but how significantly and how violently it is attacking its own neighbors is something that the West seems to be not having a lot of information about, or we can say that there is some sort of ignorance when it comes to the West and the Pakistan's terror factory. So this group of leaders from across the country is going to help India's outreach when it comes to the issues as well as the solutions that are required for the terrorism menace that not only affects India, but at some point of time it also affects Europe and other countries across the world.
Akshay, also if you look at the list of countries also, they are permanent or non-permanent member states of the United Nations Security Council, UNSA. A breakdown of the countries indicates that the delegations will interact with the leaders from 12 of the 15 UNSC member states. If you could tell us how has the government chosen these 33 countries and why India's campaign is important in the countries listed?
Well, when it comes to fight against terrorism, you have a clear group of countries that have been more involved than others. You have also countries that have suffered at the hands of terrorism, and these are generally major economies around the world that have been on target of Islamist terrorism that is emanating out of Pakistan. The choosing of these countries is quite simple as well, Abhishek. These are major economies, countries with major say in world politics. Many of these are permanent and non-permanent members of the UNSC, but when it comes to the the selection of these countries, there is no bias as far as these countries are concerned. While yes, they are the countries that have suffered at the hands of terrorism, but more countries may be added at a later stage, Abhishek.
Absolutely. This campaign aims to counter Pakistan's attempts to overshadow terrorism. We'll leave it at that, Akshay. Thanks for your inputs. Moving on, Chief of Army Staff General Upendra Dwivedi visited the historic border town of Longewala in Rajasthan, honouring the bravery of soldiers who defended India against overwhelming odds. During an interaction with troops from various forces, he praised their courage and operational readiness in Operation Sindoor amid recent tensions in Rajasthan and Gujarat. He reaffirmed the Indian Army's commitment, stating that any future threats would be met with decisive force. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar interacted with representatives of the Indian community in Netherlands. While interacting with the Indian diaspora, Dr. S. Jaishankar highlighted the contribution of the community to building a stronger relationship between India and the Netherlands. On the first leg of his visit to 3 European nations, Dr. Jaishankar met Defence Minister Ruben Brekelmans in The Hague. During the meeting, both the leaders exchanged views on respective security perspectives and challenges. They also spoke about the benefits of forging a bilateral defence partnership. While meeting with his Netherlands counterpart, Casper Welkam, External Affairs Minister appreciated Netherlands' strong condemnation of the Pahalgam attack and support for zero tolerance against terrorism. Both the leaders had wide-ranging discussions on deepening our bilateral partnership and engagement with the EU. They also exchanged views on the global situation in an era of multipolarity. Later on, External Affairs Minister will also pay an official visit to Denmark and Germany. Moving on, Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal held talks with the US Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick to expedite the first tranche of India-US bilateral trade agreement. An Indian delegation led by Piyush Goyal is in the US for talks over the trade deal. India and the United States are intensifying discussions to finalize the scaled-down version of the bilateral trade agreement. On April 29th, the Commerce Ministry highlighted that both nations are focusing on securing early mutual gains as they move closer to concluding the agreement. Representatives of India's Department of Commerce and the Office of the US Trade Representative met in Washington last month as part of ongoing discussions on India-US bilateral trade agreement. Now, Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve has achieved a milestone, emerging as India's third most visited national park with over 4.43 lakh tourists this season, marking a 35% rise from last year. Foreign tourist numbers also surged by 25%, highlighting its global appeal. New attractions, prominent visits and conservation efforts have boosted the visibility, while the tourism surge has fueled local economic growth through jobs and business opportunities. All right, we are slipping into a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. US Supreme Court green lights Trump administration's plan to end TPS for Venezuelans amid ongoing crisis. First migrants depart US under Project Homecoming with financial assistance and travel support. And US President Trump signs Take It Down Act into law, criminalizing non-consensual imagery and deepfakes.
Goa, a wild nature paradise, where over a third of the state remains wild today, and every corner is full of surprises. Goa's forests evolved through the seasons. Insects and crocodiles flourish in the monsoon, butterflies in the months after the rains subside, and in the winter, the jungle transforms into a haven for birds. Oh, there's a female right next to him. Oh my God, is that 8 otters? That's one of my favorite things about these forests. There are still so many secrets out there. Watch Postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Bye.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. A new diplomatic push may be gaining ground to end the conflict in Ukraine. US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin held a key phone call on Monday, with both leaders signaling fresh willingness to pursue a ceasefire. Here's the latest on the high-stakes talks.
The phone call between US President Donald Trump and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin lasted for more than 2 hours. Trump touted real progress, declaring that Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiations toward a ceasefire, potentially ending a conflict that has now entered its third year.
I think some progress has been made. It's a terrible situation going on over there. 5,000 young people every single week are being killed. So hopefully we did something.
Putin, for his part, thanked Trump and said Moscow is ready to work with Kiev on a memorandum laying out the principles for peace, possibly including a temporary ceasefire, a timeline for talks, and other terms if consensus is reached.
We agreed with the US President that Russia will propose and will be ready to work with the Ukrainian side on a memorandum on a possible future peace agreement.
Shortly thereafter, Trump held a telephonic conversation with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky stressed the need for an immediate ceasefire and revealed efforts to organize a high-level peace summit with the US, EU, UK, Russia, and Ukraine.
During the call, we talked about what is important for Ukraine, the ceasefire. The second topic we talked about is the readiness of the United States to make more serious sanction steps if Russia does not support the ceasefire and doesn't want to end this war. The third thing I asked him is not to make any decisions about Ukraine without us.
Meanwhile, European and US leaders welcomed Pope Leo's offer to host peace talks at the Vatican. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, French President Emmanuel Macron, and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz spoke with Trump in support of renewed negotiations.
I think it would be great to have it at the Vatican. Maybe it would have some extra significance. There's tremendous bitterness, anger, and I think maybe that could help some of that anger. So having it at the Vatican would be, in Rome, would be I think it would be a great idea.
With major players signaling openness to talks, all eyes now turn to whether these early steps can lead to lasting peace. With inputs from Amish Mahajan, Bureau Report, DD India.
On Monday, Israel's military confirmed that 5 UN trucks carrying supplies, including baby food, were allowed through the Kerem Shalom crossing. Israeli Foreign Ministry Director General Adin Bartal said aid distribution points inside Gaza should be up and running within days. He added that the Israeli army is working closely with international organizations to resume supply operations immediately in the region. This marks the first delivery since Israel announced a partial easing of its blockade amid mounting global pressure.
Fund, GHF.
An international fund, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, will operate based on this principle: direct aid to the population in Gaza, but not to Hamas. Israel supports this plan fully. The fund will distribute the aid in several distribution centers located in safe areas of Gaza. The IDF will not take part in the distribution. The IDF will secure the perimeter. The distribution sites should be operating in a matter of days.
Take part of the distribution.
Despite growing international pressure, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed that Israel will maintain full control over Gaza. This comes as Israel lifts a blockade on aid shipments amid urgent warnings of a looming famine. On Monday, the Israeli military issued fresh evacuation orders for parts of southern Gaza, warning residents in Khan Yunis to flee towards the coast ahead of what it called an unprecedented attack. In a video statement, Netanyahu declared Israel is moving towards what he called complete victory, promising both the return of the 58 hostages still held by Hamas and the full dismantling of the militant group.
We are conducting an immense, intense and tremendous battle. There is progress. We are going to take control of the entire territory of the Gaza Strip. That's what we are going to do.
Now, the US Supreme Court on Monday allowed the Trump administration to proceed with plans to end temporary protected status, which is TPS, for approximately 350,000 Venezuelans who have been shielded from deportation due to ongoing crisis in their home country. The court's decision enables the termination of TPS while an appeal continues in a lower court. Former President Biden had extended TPS for Venezuelans in early 2021, citing the humanitarian situation under Nicolas Maduro's regime. In response, Venezuelan American activist Ade Elise Ferro condemned the decision, calling it a discriminatory attack on a community fleeing a dictatorship. Meanwhile, the Trump administration's immigration policies have faced significant legal challenges, including a recent Supreme Court ruling blocking its bid to deport alleged members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua under the 1798 Alien Enemies Act. Now, Venezuela has suspended all flights from Colombia, accusing a group of mercenaries of planning to disrupt the country's upcoming legislative and regional elections. Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello stated that 38 people, including 17 foreigners, were arrested for allegedly plotting attacks on embassies, hospitals and police stations. The government tied the suspects to opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, who has called for a boycott of the elections on Sunday. Colombia confirmed the flight suspension, but expressed concern over the lack of prior notice and details on the threat. The move comes amid rising tensions between Venezuela and Colombia. Passengers were left stranded as flights were cancelled, and some expressed frustration over the disruption to travel plans.
38 new mercenaries have been detained. The Albion Mafia that governs Ecuador have sent some of their trained mercenaries to plant bombs in Venezuela. They have been captured. As I have denounced, we have the Albion Mafia. We seized 3 phones from them and they are talking. And why is Albanian Mafia from Ecuador sending them? Albanian Colombian drug trafficking and Novoa in Ecuador. Why? Because Eric Prince is there. And if Eric Prince is there, the North American Empire is there.
Now, the first group of undocumented migrants flew out of the United States under a new government initiative, Project Homecoming, the Department of Homeland Security announced on Monday. Self-deported Honduran migrants have arrived to the Ramon Villeda Morales Airport in San Pedro Sula, Honduras. Project Homecoming offers $1,000 in financial assistance and travel support for migrants who agree to self-deport to their home countries. A total of 64 migrants were flown from Houston, Texas, with 38 heading to Honduras and 26 to Colombia. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem encouraged others to take advantage of the voluntary program, warning that failure to comply would lead to fines, arrest and permanent exclusion from re-entry into the U.S. The initiative is part of broader efforts by the Trump administration to address illegal immigration, including deportations and military deployments at the southern border. Migrant rights groups have raised concerns about the fairness and safety of the program. The U.S. President Donald Trump sparked controversy on Monday by suggesting that Joe Biden's recent cancer diagnosis was covered up by the White House. Trump expressed surprise that the public was not informed sooner, given that Biden's condition, an aggressive form of prostate cancer, was reportedly diagnosed with a high Gleason score of 9. His comments came after his son, Don Jr., questioned why Biden's cancer wasn't detected earlier, alluding to a potential cover-up. Biden's team, however, denied any intentional concealment of his health issues. Biden expressed gratitude for the support he received following the announcement and shared a message of strength on social media.
When you take tests, medical, as a male, that test is very standard. I don't know if it's given to everybody, but it's given just about. And it takes a long time to get to that situation. I think that if you take a look, it's the same doctor that said that Joe was cognitively fine. There was nothing wrong with him. Well, he said, if it's the same doctor, he said there was nothing wrong there, and that's being proven to be a sad situation.
Now, Trump signed a bill on Monday making it a federal crime to post revenge porn, whether it is real or generated by artificial intelligence. The Take It Down Act, passed with overwhelming bipartisan congressional support, criminalizes non-consensual publication of intimate images while also mandating their removal from online platforms. Websites that fail to remove the images promptly within 48 hours will face civil liabilities. The bill would require social media platforms and websites to have procedures in place to swiftly remove non-consensual intimate imagery upon notification from a victim. First Lady Melania Trump endorsed the bill in early March and attended the signing ceremony in a rare public White House appearance. In remarks at the signing ceremony, she described the bill as a national victory that will help parents and families protect children from online exploitation. Now, prosecutors released photographs of the products found in the hotel room where Sean Diddy Combs was staying before he got arrested on September 16, 2024, and bruises on ex-girlfriend Cassandra Cassie Ventura during Combs' sex trafficking trial. Ventura testified last week that the hip-hop mogul raped her in 2018 after they ended their more than decade-long relationship. Ventura, a rhythm and blues singer known as Cassie, also said Combs agreed to a $20 million settlement to end her November 2023 civil lawsuit against him over their relationship, with the deal coming 24 hours after she filed the case. The disclosures came on the third day of Combs' criminal trial, where the 55-year-old rapper has pleaded not guilty to 5 felony counts of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. If convicted on all counts, Combs would face a minimum 15 years in prison and could face life behind bars. Ventura fought back tears as she described Combs allegedly raping her in her living room. And the United States announced the formation of a new unit that will crack down on federally funded universities that have diversity, equity and inclusion policies using a civil anti-fraud law, the Justice Department said in a memo. The creation of the Civil Rights Fraud Initiative marks the latest escalation by the administration of President Donald Trump against colleges and universities that it has claimed are pushing anti-Semitic, anti-American, Marxist and radical left ideologies. The False Claims Act is a federal civil law that allows the government to recover funds lost due to fraud. Private citizens can also use it to sue on the government's behalf and can become eligible to receive a portion of the recovered proceeds. Harvard is currently suing the government after the Trump administration cancelled its federal grants in what the university alleges is a bid to coerce and control it. Now, US President Donald Trump is calling for a major investigation into top celebrities including Beyonce and Bruce Springsteen, accusing them of accepting millions to endorse his 2024 opponent Kamala Harris. Trump has claimed that Beyonce was paid $11 million to appear at a Harris rally, allegations the Harris team denies. Trump said this was according to news reports. The US president said he intended to call for a major investigation into this matter. Oprah Winfrey also acknowledged a $1 million payment to her production company, while Springsteen was accused of receiving funds for a Georgia performance. Trump argued these payments may constitute illegal campaign contributions disguised as entertainment fees. The US President Trump, who defeated Harris, claims Harris used celebrity endorsements to artificially inflate crowd sizes. As tensions rise, Trump continues his feud with Springsteen, calling him highly overrated and politically biased. Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services said on Monday that it is terminating $60 million in federal grants to Harvard University due to its failure to address anti-Semitic harassment and race discrimination. In key European elections, Portugal's centre-right Democratic Alliance, led by Prime Minister Luís Montenegro, won the most seats but fell short of a majority for the third consecutive election. In Romania, centrist Nixa Dan triumphed over hard-right George Simeon, signalling a pro-European victory. Meanwhile, in Poland, Rafał Trzaskowski leads the first round, but with a narrowing margin, the race remains tight.
In Portugal's snap election on Sunday, the centre-right Democratic Alliance AD, led by Prime Minister Luis Montenegro, won most seats but fell short of the majority mark for the third consecutive election in 3 years. The AD secured 32.7% of the vote and 89 seats, up by 9 from the last election. The Socialist Party and the far-right Chega were virtually tied in second place.
The Portuguese people have given a vote of confidence to the government currently in office, have given a vote of confidence to the Prime Minister who coordinates the work of this government, and say that the main alignment of the government's actions should be the program presented for election.
Montenegro has ruled out forming a coalition with Chega and plans to govern as a minority. However, analysts warn that without broader support, his government is likely to remain fragile.
If the government stands alone, it will be a very fragile government. The alternative is to imagine a kind of coalition like in Germany between the Social Democrats, or the ruling government, and the Socialist Party.
In a major setback for Europe's rising nationalist movements, a centrist mayor and former mathematics professor Nicu Dan emerged victorious in Romania's presidential election on Sunday. Dan defeated hard-right candidate George Simion, who had aligned himself with President Donald Trump and opposed military aid to Ukraine. The election result was seen as pivotal for Romania's future direction, particularly in terms of its commitments to NATO and the European Union, reinforcing the country's pro-European stance.
I think Romania have to continue the external politics, including Ukraine. So including helping Ukraine and contributing in a balanced way in a European effort to sustain Ukraine.
Meanwhile, the first round of Poland's presidential election ended with a highly uncertain outcome, as Rafał Trzaskowski, the centrist mayor of Warsaw and the candidate of Prime Minister Donald Tusk's Civic Coalition, secured 31.3% of the vote. He was closely followed by Karol Nawrocki, a historian backed by the ruling Law and Justice PIS party, with 29.5% of the vote. The result was tighter than expected, reflecting Poland's deep political divisions. Trzaskowski, long seen as the favorite, has seen his lead narrow in recent weeks. The polarized political landscape sets the stage for a tense second round scheduled for June. Rabindra Chauhan's report, DD India.
Alright, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Canada Post faces potential shutdown as union issues strike notice amid financial crisis and failed contract talks. Mexican Navy crew returns home as investigators probe cause of fatal collision with Brooklyn Bridge. And Japan is sticking to demand for US to eliminate tariffs. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of our top stories. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri to brief MP delegations in 2 phases before diplomatic outreach on Operation Sindoor. 59 leaders to visit 33 countries in the coming days. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar begins European tour with the Netherlands, appreciates country's support against terrorism. Expediting first tranche of bilateral trade pact Union Minister Piyush Goyal meets US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, advances India-US trade talks. Russia-Ukraine likely to seal peace deal after US President Trump speaks to his counterparts Putin and Zelensky. Trump says Russia and Ukraine to immediately start peace talks. And India braces for further rain fury as Met Department issues alert for extremely heavy rainfall in south and northeastern India. Karnataka continues to be on alert for extremely heavy rainfall. The UK and the European Union on Monday held a much anticipated summit in London. The meeting took place in the backdrop of an unpredictable global dynamic created by the US. It is the UK's most significant reset of defence and trade ties with the EU since Brexit. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer hailed it as a win-win deal. For her part, EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen called it a big day because the EU and the UK are now turning the page and opening a new chapter. DD India's Raghav Kumar Jha reports.
Britain and the European Union on Monday reached a landmark deal setting out closer ties on defence and trade, launching a new chapter after the UK's acrimonious exit from the bloc 5 years ago. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said it's a win-win deal and the reset in ties with UK's biggest trading partner would reduce red tape for food and agricultural producers, making food cheaper and improve energy security. In a statement, the Downing Street said the pact adds nearly £9 billion to the British economy by 2040.
We are agreeing a new strategic partnership, fit for our times, providing real tangible benefits on security, irregular migration, energy prices, agri-food, trade and more, bringing down bills, creating jobs and protecting our borders. We've delivered this progress through hard work together at every level.
5 years after Brexit, the Defence and Security Pact means Britain, a defence heavyweight, will take part in joint procurement projects. It also paves the way for the UK to access the Security Action for Europe, a £150 billion EU fund providing loans for defence projects. The two sides also agreed to lift controls imposed on UK exports to the 27-country bloc. On fishing, the new deal gives EU boats continued access to UK waters until 2038. In return, the UK gets reduced checks on food and drink traded with the bloc, making it easier for British products such as burgers and sausages to be sold in the EU. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen said it was a big day because EU and UK are now turning the page and opening a new chapter.
Indeed, this is a big day because we are now turning the page and opening a new chapter. A new chapter that is so important in these times because we see the rise of geopolitical tensions, but we are like-minded. We share the same values. We know that we work shoulder by shoulder, hand in hand, when it's really coming to crisis and difficult moments.
Trump's tariffs, amidst warnings that Europe act to protect itself, forced governments of the continent to rethink trade, defense and security ties, bringing British Prime Minister Starmer closer to France, Emmanuel Macron and other European leaders together. Is the third deal Britain has struck this month after agreements with India and the US, and while it's unlikely to lead a meaningful economic boost immediately, it could lift corporate sentiment, drawing the much needed investment. Raghav Kumar Jha's report for DD India.
French President Emmanuel Macron hailed a record $22 billion in foreign investment during the Choose France conference at the Palace of Versailles on Monday. This surpasses last year's 15 billion euros and solidifies France's position as Europe's top destination for foreign direct investment, according to an EY ranking. Around 50 new projects across sectors like fintech, cruise ships and data centers were revealed. Macron credited his reforms since 2017 for simplifying bureaucracy and boosting France's appeal. Notable investments include US logistics giant Prologis 6.4 billion euros for data centers, and Swiss-Italian MSC Cruises 3.5 billion euros for new ships. Additionally, 20.8 billion euros in AI projects were confirmed. However, some analysts caution that France's overall investment climate may be flagging. Macron also advocated for less regulatory red tape alongside Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz at the EU level. Now, Japan's top trade negotiator Ryuhei Akazawa said that there was no change to Tokyo's stance of demanding an elimination of US tariffs in bilateral trade negotiations. Akazawa said the two countries held working-level trade talks in Washington on Monday. The schedule of a third round of ministerial-level negotiations was yet to be fixed, he added. On April 2nd, US President Donald Trump imposed 10% tariffs on all countries except Canada, Mexico and China, along with higher tariff rates for many big trading partners, including Japan, which faces a 24% tariff rate starting in July unless it can negotiate a deal with Washington. Japanese policymakers and ruling party lawmakers have said they see no merit in striking a deal with the United States unless a 25% tariff on automobile imports is lifted, given the industry's economic importance. While Japan was the first major economy to start bilateral trade talks with Washington, Britain was the first to strike a deal with the Trump administration. China and the United States also agreed to a 90-day truce in their trade war that had threatened a global recession. Now, the union representing 55,000 Canada Post workers on Monday gave a strike notice that could see the nation's financially precarious postal service shut down by the week's end. The announcement comes after contract talks broke down and a government-appointed commission concluded last week that dramatic changes were required to save the bankrupt postal service. Canada Post said it received the strike notice from the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, indicating workers would walk off the job on Friday. The government in December had called a timeout in a previous weeks-long strike ahead of the busy holiday shopping season after the two sides reached an impasse. On Friday, the Commission in a report urged the phasing out of daily door-to-door letter mail delivery and the hiring of part-time employees to deliver parcels on the weekend among its recommendations. This would be its second labour disruption in 6 months. Now, crew members of a Mexican Navy sailing ship that crashed into New York's iconic Brooklyn Bridge arrived back home on Monday as authorities investigated the cause of the accident. The investigation will focus on possible engine failure and the role of a tugboat that assisted it in backing out of its pier. The ship's engine was the key focus for the National Transportation Safety Board. Investigators are also asking the public for additional video of the incident and have yet to determine if the Mexican naval vessel had a data recorder. 2 sailors were killed and around 20 injured in Saturday's collision. The accident occurred when the majestic white training vessel was departing from Lower Manhattan's Pier 17 on the East River shortly after sunset on Saturday. And moving on to weather updates now, just days after a series of tornadoes ripped through the US Midwest, killing at least 25 people, drone video showed damaged roofs and downed trees in a North St. Louis, Missouri neighborhood. At least 5,000 homes were damaged in the storm. The National Weather Service said thunderstorms were widespread across portions of the Mississippi, Tennessee and Ohio valleys on Friday. At least half a dozen tornadoes touched down in Missouri and neighboring Illinois, and other severe weather stretched all the way to the Atlantic coast, including another tornado reported in New Jersey. Eyewitness footage recorded on May 18 showed a tornado that churned in the town of Arnett, Oklahoma. According to local press, severe weather has left 28 dead and unleashed destruction across central and eastern US. More than 70 tornadoes, destructive hail and the powerful wind gusts have caused damage across the middle of the country. And India's national capital will be reeling under intense heat as the maximum temperature might reach 46 degrees Celsius, while minimum temperature in Delhi today is likely to hover around 31 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, monsoons have knocked the doors of northeast as fairly widespread light moderate rainfall with thunderstorms and lightning and gusty winds is reaching northeast for the next 7 days. None of the rivers are flowing above danger level in Assam yet. Meanwhile, an orange alert was issued for a few districts in southern state of Kerala, warning residents to stay alert for heavy rainfall and possible flooding. In response, the state government ramped up preparations to brace for potential weather-related emergencies. Though normal rainfall was forecast by the Met Department this southwest monsoon season. While a meeting was held in Chennai to review monsoon preparedness and met a dam opening this irrigation year and instructed officials to undertake preventive measures, district administrations has been instructed to urgently complete all pre-monsoon works. Some of the key instructions and measures include updated disaster risk list, frequent review meetings, drain and canal cleaning and relief camp readiness. Authorities are urging the public to remain vigilant and cooperate with the local officials. All right, our reporters are joining in for the updates. We have Subina Roy from Dibrugarh and Ritesh Ranjan from Tamil Nadu, Chennai. Subina, I'll come to you first. Monsoons have knocked the doors of northeast and we can see you with the umbrella also. How's the weather there in Dibrugarh and also what is the forecast?
Well, good morning, Abhishek. As you can see, it's drizzling out here and heavy rains have already occurred in Assam and other parts of northeast since the past 7 days, and the orange alert has been issued from Assam and Meghalaya for today and tomorrow. And however, light to moderate rains are expected to occur over the entire northeast for the next 7 days. Now, why the effect of the southwest monsoon is maximum in the Brahmaputra Valley? It is important to note that the Himalaya, which acts as a barrier for the orographic shift, which means the rainfall condenses and it causes heavy rainfall in the Brahmaputra region. Secondly, Assam Valley is surrounded by small hills of Arunachal, Nagaland, Mizoram, and it is surrounded by in between. So that is why the frequency of rain is also maximum in Assam. Thirdly, the Bay of Bengal, which is just below the northeastern area, brings a lot of moisture into the area, which brings in more precipitation. So the geographical location at maximum rainfalls occur here. Now, coming to the point of the daily life, which is affected by rains, yes, of course, especially Assam is a riverine state and the people who live in the majorly population exists near the banks of the Brahmaputra. Now, when the river gets flooded, it is when the lives which live near the banks of the Brahmaputra, particularly who live on islands near the banks, these are the low-lying areas get inundated, and that's when the rescue operations come into being. And this time, Abhishek, recently the Chief Secretary of Assam had convened a meeting where, where the strategy of, how the state-level preparedness was discussed. So the NDRF teams have deployed around 300 personnel, and UNICEF this time has also deployed 100 personnel for rescue operations. So these are some of the measures which the state government is taking for any kind of exigencies.
All right, Subina, you have told us about the preparations. Let me go to Ritesh also in Chennai. Ritesh, what all districts are on high alert and what advisories have been issued for the next few days?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that, it is a pleasant weather for Tamil Nadu after, facing a really hot time in recent days. There are an alert issued for 17 districts of Tamil Nadu where it is yellow alert has been issued by the state government and regional meteorological department. And those districts are Dharmapuri, Nilgiri, Coimbatore. Heavy rain are expected there. And it is supposed to be there at Wednesday. Post Wednesday, the situation will calm down. So it is kind of pleasant weather for Tamil Nadu people. But same time, it is also concerning for the several districts And yeah, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, M.K. Stalin, have taken a review meeting of preparedness, with the senior officials and senior leaders yesterday night, taking a view that what all preparation has been done, and we have given a strict order to all the district collectors that round the clock this line number should work, and also relief camps should be set up where all the basic amenities, food, electricity, water, everything should be there. People should not face any kind of difficulty. Right. Now, one other thing I would like to mention here, the temperature of Tamil Nadu, have seen in yesterday, minimum was 20 degree and maximum was 37 degree. And in Chennai, it was recorded from minimum 20 and maximum was 35 degree. And I would like to mention here that there are the school kids, below 6th standard kids are having holidays, but there are senior school students and college students who are still writing the exams. For them, no holidays have been announced, and the government is looking after all the preparedness so that there should not be any difficulty for the people. But yes,
all right, you have told us, Ritesh, about the preparedness of the government, and yes, some respite there for the people in Tamil Nadu, especially Chennai. We'll leave it at that. Thank you, Ritesh from Chennai, and Subina also from Assam. Sports updates now. We'll start with Indian Premier League. Sunrisers Hyderabad rode on Abhishek Sharma's blitz to knock Lucknow Super Giants out of IPL playoff race with a comprehensive 6-wicket win on Monday. Lucknow posted a total of 205 after being put to bat first with half-centuries from Aiden Markram and Mitchell Marsh. However, a swashbuckling 18-ball 50 along with healthy contributions by Hendrik Klaasen, Ishan Kishan and Kamindu Mendes helped Hyderabad win with 10 balls to spare. It also draws the curtain on a disappointing campaign for Lucknow captain Rishabh Pant, who became the most expensive player in IPL history when he was bought for ₹27 crore in the auction. Now, the game between Delhi Capitals and Mumbai Indians will be a decider for the 4th playoff spot. Punjab, RCB and Gujarat, they have already qualified for the last 4. The Khelo India Beach Games 2025 kicked off in style with the opening ceremony in the Union Territory of Daman and Diu. Union Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia called the games open, where a lineup of cultural performances and athlete parade were organized to showcase vibrant traditions and talents from various states. DD India's Suchitra Bhardwaj has more.
The opening ceremony of the first Khelo India Beach Games 2025 was held at the beautiful Gogla Beach of Diu. The theme of the inaugural edition of Khelo India Beach Games is Sports Stars on the Shores of Diu. Cultural programs organized during the inaugural ceremony featured a spectacular presentation of famous dance forms from various states of India, followed by a parade of all the players. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi wished for the success of the games in his message. Union Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia, who was present as the chief guest on the occasion, said that it was very pleasant to have beach games added to the chain of Khelo India, as this will bring more players forward in the water sports in this country.
अरबी समुद्र के तट पर दीव में आज बीच गेम्स 2025 का शुभारंभ हुआ। दीव में जिस तरह से बीच गेम्स की व्यवस्था बनी है, जिस तरह से तैयारियां हुई है और लास्ट बीच गेम्स का अनुभव देखते हुए दीव को बीच गेम्स डेस्टिनेशन के रूप में विकसित करा जाएगा। आज सभी एथलीट को जो 3 दिन के लिए यहाँ खेलेंगे, सभी को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूँ।
Sports Minister formally inaugurated the games by lighting the torch of Khelo India Beach Games. The Khelo India Beach Games will be underway in Daman and Diu and the Dadar and Nagar Haveli from 19th to 24th May. 6 medal sports, which includes beach football, beach volleyball, beach sepak takraw, Beach kabaddi, penchak silat, and open water swimming will be organized under Khelo India Beach Games. Meanwhile, Malakhamb and tug of war will be included as exhibition sports.
The opening ceremony of Khelo India Beach Games was the perfect example of Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat. There were glimpses of Gujarat's Garba and Punjab's Bhangra, Kathakali and Bihu. And now, these beach games will provide a perfect platform to the upcoming players to showcase their talent in the water sports. With camera person Ajit, this is Suchitra reporting for DD India from Diu.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.